Welcome to Powering Through Life, and I'm your host, Teresa Sims. Each week on Powering Through Life, my guest and I will discuss a special topic that is close to their heart. Together, we will explore the challenges they have faced in life and learn what strategies and tools they have used to power through their life. So welcome to Powering Through Life. Thanks for joining us again today on Powering Through Life. My guest today is a dear friend of mine. Her name is Tracey Osborne. And known for her honest, open, and bold approach to women empowerment, Tracey Osborne is a trauma release coach. Ooh, good stuff. She's guiding women on their journey to move past their past and to become the empowered woman they're supposed to be. Oh, fantastic work, Tracey. Tracey, welcome to Powering Through Life.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad we got to do this finally. It's been a few months in the works, but and we've attempted, but yeah, I like the topic you want to discuss today, and it's life after trauma.
Yeah.
How appropriate, right?
Right.
Oh, exactly. So is it possible to go back to life the way it was before the trauma, or would you like to start with what has transpired for you?
Well, long story short, my trauma started, the earliest I remember is around age 5 when my parents got divorced, and that started abandonment issues. And then I started having to deal with emotional abuse growing up with a very Italian grandmother, who just didn't know any better. So, she did the best she could, but she just, she is who she is, or was who she was. And then from there, I went and I moved in with my dad and my stepmom. And my stepmom was an extreme emotional bully and very manipulative. She's one of those who's very good at, she's incredibly toxic, but plays the victim. And, everybody could see it except for her and my dad, of course. And so, from there, it just kind of started creating, a spiral of things. I was raped at 18. By my live-in boyfriend on senior prom night. Yay. Just how everybody wants to remember their senior prom. And probably about 7-8 months later, after I left him, I was out partying with some guys that I knew from work. I worked at a bowling alley. And I had gone back to their apartment so that we could drink and, just have fun and whatever. And I passed out or blacked out or something. And they took advantage of that. I don't know what, I don't know how many, I don't know anything of it, other than something happened. I had multiple relationships that ended in abuse, from being hit, shoved, punched, to watching a guy I was with snap my kitten's neck in front of me. So, it's just been a lifetime of stuff. I've lost both my parents now. I lost my best friend, and I lost my husband last year. So, I'm definitely no stranger to trauma at all.
Definitely.
Which is why I chose this path.
You know what? I sometimes think the path chooses us in some ways.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right. I feel like I had to go through all of this junk in my past so that I can help other women who are going through it or who have been through it and need that help and that support from somebody who gets it.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, you can go to doctors, you can go to, whatever the case may be, but if they don't truly understand or have not experienced what you've gone through, then they can't help you fully. And
Exactly.
I think so. Basically, what I'm hearing you say is that life cannot go back to the way it was, because ultimately we are changed, right?
Exactly. Trauma changes you. Whether it's for the good, for the bad, it changes us.
Mm-hmm.
We will never be that person. I will never be who I was before the day my husband had a heart attack. I will never be that person again. I am stronger. This is the first time that I have ever lived on my own. Typically I would bounce from relationship to relationship. So this is the first time in probably 30 years that I've actually really lived on my own. And so it's transforming me into a stronger, better person. So yeah, we absolutely, and a lot of times we don't want to go back to who we were.
Well, that person actually doesn't exist anymore either, does it?
Exactly.
And
No.
I think the trauma actually helps build, I hate to say it, but it builds character. It really does. It really pulls out of the individual what they're meant to show and what they're meant to bring forth. And hopefully it's in a positive way.
Right. I mean, I know they say that which does not kill us makes us stronger. And when you're going through it, it sure doesn't feel like it,
And that's the last thing you want to hear, too.
Like,
It'll make you stronger.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, thanks.
Yay. And the funny thing is until I started really studying trauma and that kind of thing, that's some of the kinds of things I would tell people, because I thought I was being helpful and supportive. Well, everything happens for a reason. You were meant to experience that. You may never know why, but you were meant to experience that. And now, today I'm like, ooh, I can't believe I would say that to somebody, because, someone says that to me and I'm like, I want to punch you.
Or it's a test. I love that.
Yeah.
It's a test.
Yeah.
I've been tested enough. I've passed every exam in my life ever, and more than I could hope for. But
Exactly.
It's still, it changes an individual. It really does. And hopefully, you find a way to power through it, find a way to understand what's happening and why, what the story is behind it, and just accept what will be, or not accept, but grow into the direction you need to be guided into, I guess, to fulfill your goals, your dreams.
Well, I'm glad you said accept, because I believe in a 4-step process, if you will, to releasing the trauma. And we hold on to the trauma mentally and physically, spiritually, in every way possible. We hold on to that trauma. So we may think that we're doing good, but our bodies have held on to it. We have to let it go. And for me, in my mind, the first step is acceptance. You have to accept whatever happened. We go through the stages of denial.
Mm-hmm.
In most traumas, we're going to go through the same types of stages as, like the 7 stages of grief or 5 stages of grief, whatever it is. We go through a lot of those same stages. And you cannot start healing until you accept that whatever has happened has happened.
Yep.
Doesn't mean you're okay with it, Not okay that I got raped multiple times and have been abused and lost people that I care about, but I accept that it's happened.
It does, because that's the first, I think that's the biggest struggle in moving forward, honestly.
Yeah.
Because if you keep denying it, you're never going to move past that phase, and you really need to.
Yeah. And depending again on the type of trauma that you're dealing with, a lot of times, especially like childhood trauma, emotional trauma, we have a very hard time accepting the fact that it happened. Mm-hmm. And it is easier to live in denial and ignorance and just bury our heads in the sand than it is to deal with the pain and the repercussions of what we've been through.
Very true. But when you do something along that line, then you're also affecting those around you. You're affecting your family members. You're affecting those you come into contact with, because you're not as present as you could be. And you're teaching them a new way for you to be, and for how they can interact with you based on what they're seeing, what you're exhibiting, and how you're teaching them to teach or to relate to you.
Right. And also teaching them how to relate to life.
Yes.
If you bury your head in the sand every time something bad happens, your family, your kids are going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've learned. They learn from experience. They learn from example.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of like overcoming an addiction. The first step is admitting that you have a problem. Well, the first step to healing from trauma is accepting and admitting that it's happened.
Yeah.
You have to go through that step first.
Exactly. So what's the healing journey like, Tracey?
It is, picture the windiest, curviest, craziest road imaginable. And it's worse than that.
Oh.
So, I am not going to sugarcoat it. The healing journey,
it's a struggle.
It is. I want to say it sucks, but there's times that it does, and there's times that it's wonderful. Yeah. It is probably the biggest roller coaster ride you'll ever be on, full of ups and downs, highs and lows. I mentioned that for me, there's a 4-step process. Acceptance, forgiveness, release, and rewrite. So forgiveness means you need to forgive yourself. You don't have to forgive those who have hurt you, harmed you, whatever. I would never, ever tell a trauma survivor, you need to forgive whoever harmed you. You can, absolutely. That's entirely up to you. You need to forgive yourself. And forgiving yourself, it's because we think, well, if I had only done this, if I had only been a better kid, a better student, if I hadn't worn that dress, if I hadn't been out partying that night with a couple of guys by myself, all the guilt and the shame and the all the feelings and anger and berating that we give ourselves, we need to just forgive ourselves for that.
Yeah, because that self, I want to call it self-abuse. It is the hardest thing to ever forget and forgive, because that other person may not be in your life ever again, which it's probably a positive thing. But if you can't forgive yourself, you had possibly no part in that. That was not your fault. You didn't ask for it. Should not have happened, but it did. But you constantly beat yourself up over stuff like that you maybe had no control over, right?
Yeah.
It's not fair that we do that to ourselves. We're the harder on ourselves than the perpetrator ever could have been, I think.
I'm telling you. I am probably, that we are. When it comes to the emotional abuse that I heap on myself and that I have in the past, I put my past to shame, but it's the stuff that I say to myself internally and that I have in the past, I wouldn't say to my worst enemy, that toxic poison, but yet we feel it's okay to say it to ourselves. And so as we start to forgive ourselves for the emotions, for the anger, the berating, all of that, we start to stop doing it. And it starts to transform from self-loathing into self-liking, into self-love.
Right. And it's key to get through those stages in order to come out the other side of whatever the trauma was. And we do need to, do you not think that forgiveness is the main component in that? Which one do you feel is the most powerful one, Tracey? in the force.
Forgiveness, for sure. And I actually used to say forgiveness needed to be step one, but you can't forgive what you can't accept.
True.
So, that's why I've kind of, transformed it to, you have to accept first before you can start to forgive. And they can also go hand in hand. But forgiveness, again, definitely one of the biggest steps that you will ever take, and probably the hardest step you will take in your healing journey.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And it's not an overnight thing.
Very true. So when we move through the forgiveness aspect, what is the third?
The next one is releasing, and that's just, releasing the trauma, letting it out, write it down, write down the anger and the pain and the whatever, burn it, scream, whatever you got to do. But you've got to start getting it out. And like I said, it builds up in our bodies. So, there's meditation, there's, exercise and detoxing and all of that kind of stuff that will help to purge it from your body. But you have to definitely start getting it out. And I use the term release rather than recovery. Many people actually say trauma recovery. And for me, trauma isn't something that we recover from. It's not an addiction. We're not alcoholics. We're not recovering from that. So that's why I say release. It's more empowering. And it's, instead of holding on to it, recovery to me still feels like you're holding on to it. Like, I'm a recovering trauma survivor. It's like, let it go. Let it go. It's not who you are. It's not a part of who you are. Let it go. So after we release, then we rewrite. You can rewrite your story. And that's the fun part, because now you can get creative. You've got this blank canvas, and it's like, now what do I do with it? And you can splash a little color here and splash a little color here and decide, I don't like this, so we're going to paint over it. And you can make your life whatever you want it to be. And that's the happy, fun ending of the trauma recovery or the trauma release process.
Absolutely, because it's key to have come to terms with what's going on. Mm-hmm. It's key to forgive, but it's also key to move forward. You really need to just put the past and the trauma where it belongs. Like you say, you can't deny it occurred. It was something. It was an event. It wasn't a choice. And rewriting your story is the most fun there is. So how would you go about doing that with someone?
Which part? All of it, or rewriting the story?
Rewriting the stories. Yes.
Rewriting the stories. So there's so many ways you can do that. It's exploring. What is it that you like to do? What passions have you set aside? What is it when you were in that bad relationship that you really would have loved to have been able to do, but he wouldn't let you? Go start exploring those and see if they're still your passions. I used to love to paint, and now that's not really so much a passion of mine anymore. But if I want to, I definitely have the capability and the time now that I can just go out and paint or whatever. I don't have to worry about reporting to anybody or, so that's one thing. Vision boards. I love vision boards. I am a huge believer in them. And they're so much fun because you can just, again, you get to fantasize and, say, okay, this is who I want to be. This is the life I want to have. I want to have a nice house. I want to have a nice car. I want to have this, but also I want to be this kind of a person. So, on your vision board, you use words and imagery, abundance, kindness, love, whatever it is that really calls to you. And you put that vision board where you can see it every day. And then good old pen and paper, journal it. I am, again, a huge proponent of journaling. been a hard thing for me to do myself, but I really see the value and the power in it. So just sit down and say, write your story, literally write a story.
Yeah.
And if you don't like the way it's going, erase it and, change the plot line. This is a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. That's a good way to put it.
I do too. I got to remember that.
It's all about the choices that are presented to you at that point in time, right? You have the choice to say, no, I'm not going down that path, or, oh my goodness, look at that. I want to go over there and see what that's all about, and just explore till your heart's content and you find what really makes your heart sing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about is, what makes your heart sing.
Yeah, exactly. Is there any words of wisdom that you would like to leave? Like maybe you have 3 points or something that you would like to share with the listeners about discovering what life after trauma is all about?
Be patient with yourself, because this is it's a journey, and it's not a straight path. It's full of, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 5 steps forward, 2 steps back, so be patient. You didn't get to where you are today overnight, and you're not going to get to where you're going overnight.
True.
And then also remember that it's a process, and you're not looking for perfection, because there is no such thing. Perfection is an illusion. You're looking for progress. You just want to keep going, keep putting one foot in front of the other. If you have a day where you just want to bury your head in the blankets, do it. Have that day, have that moment, allow those emotions to pass, but don't live in them. Don't give in to them. Don't allow them to take over. For example, over the past year, I will have moments where I will just start crying for no reason, for my husband. And I would just allow it rather than try and fight it and try and suck it back or whatever. Everybody knows if they come in and they see me and I'm just, crying or whatever, they know I'm having a moment. Give me 5-10 minutes and I will be back to normal. I just have to let that out, which is also part of the release. So just, allow it to happen. Don't try to control it. Just allow it to happen.
Right. I also think it's very key. Those are great. And it's also very key to have a good team in place if you need that extra support, right?
Oh, absolutely. You've got to have a support system.
Yeah. Whether that be a coach, a therapist, a psychologist, whatever the case may be, however that looks, family doctor, however that looks for you, get a team in place that can help you get to the point where you want to be. And
you can't do it alone.
No, sometimes it's just impossible. And when we try to think we can do it by ourselves, that's when we end up failing badly. And there is a great book I wanted to mention. It's also called The Body Keeps the Score. And that's a good book. Yeah, it's a good book about how trauma actually affects you and where it lives within your body and the different ways of releasing it. It's a really good book to keep in mind. And there's also another one. It's called Waking the Tiger. Very good books about how the body holds on to things, especially negative events. So anyway, that's my suggested reading for the day.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check those out.
Okay, I can send you a picture of them if you like, but they're great books. They're great information tools, as is Tracey. I think you are just a wisdom of knowledge, and I so like spending time with you because we have so much in common, and we've both been through it, but we also do the same work in the long run. And is there a quote or a favorite saying that you have, Tracey, that you'd like to share?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. One of my favorite is "We're strong alone, but together we're unstoppable." So you can't get through this alone.
No, that's true.
You need your band. You need your team.
That's true. I know we've been in contact over the last year, just keeping in touch every once in a while, see how you're doing. And, that something as simple as that is a good support system to start with, right? It's
Absolutely.
We're not in the same country, we're not in the same state.
I love those emails where someone just out of the blue is like, "Hey, just want to say how you're doing. I haven't heard from you in a while." I was like, "Aw,
yeah, isn't that
somebody's
nice?
thinking about me."
Yeah, it makes your heart sing. It makes you feel better, which puts you on the lighter side of the other side of what we're facing in a lot of cases, the trauma.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Tracey, thanks so much. I really do want to have you back again. We can talk about more of this or narrow down into something specific if that sounds good to you.
Sounds great.
Fantastic.
I look forward to it.
When Tracey's segment is up, we will have all of her contact information below on the link. And I really suggest you get in touch with this lady. She is so exceptional at what she does. And she's just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom, because who better to help you through something than someone who has actually experienced it? Gives us a different perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We get it.
Yeah, we do. We do. So thank you for joining us again. And thank you to my incredible guest, Tracey Osborne. Thanks so much.
That brings to a close another great, inspiring interview on Powering Through Life. Thank you to my incredible guest for sharing your thoughts and wisdoms with our listeners. If you would like to connect with us, go to www.teresasims.com. And there you will also find all the previous segments from many amazing and inspiring people. Remember, don't be shy. Reach out if you have any questions or just leave me a comment. So thank you once again for listening to Powering Through Life.